Hello all, welcome to part 5 of the Windows assembly language for hackers. In this video, we will look at how to write procedures and macros in assembly language. So what is a procedure? Well, if you want to take a parallel in a high-level language, you can think functions. So similarly, like in functions, if you remember in C, we go ahead and first declare a prototype for the function. Similarly, for procedures, we go ahead and first declare the prototype. The way in which this is declared is first give the procedure name, then the keyword proto, and after that the argument size of the various inputs which the procedure takes. Then you have the actual definition of the procedure, where you go ahead and write the procedure name followed by the proc keyword and then the various arguments and their sizes. Always remember that in a procedure you have the ret command at the end, which is for returning. You end the procedure by actually writing the procedure name and then the keyword endp, which is end procedure. When you have to call procedures, one of the easiest way to do so is use the invoke keyword along with the procedure name and the arguments. So let's look at a couple of examples and jump straight into programming. In the first demo, we look at how to create a procedure to concatenate two strings and return the result. So this is in the file called concat.asm, which is available for download on this page. Let me open this file up and let's go through this. So on the top, first of all, we declare the instruction set. Then we have the model and option case map. All of this has already been explained in previous videos. Then we have the includes for the include files as well as then for the library files. After that, we go ahead and actually write the prototype for the procedure. So we call the procedure concat strings, give the keyword proto, and this procedure has three inputs, all of size d word. We'll come to what these three inputs are a bit later. After that, we define the data segment, in which we go ahead and first define string1 prompt, which is please enter the first string. This will be used to actually query the first string from the user. Similarly, string2 prompt is used to query the second string from the user. After that, we have a simple sentence, the concatenated string is, after which the concatenated string will be printed. And then we have two other variables defined, string1 and string2, which are to take user input for the first and second string. Finally, we have some space allocated in final string for the concatenated string. Let's go down now. So let's first look at a high-level preview of the entire program. First, of course, we get the two strings as input from the user. Then we remove the trailing control and line feed characters. Right? Basically, we have the carriage return and the line feed character, which we have to go ahead and remove from the string. Then we call our procedure to concatenate the string. We'll get into this in a bit. And finally, we print the string on the screen and then we exit the program. So let's scroll down now and actually look at the definition of the procedure. So what we have done is, here we define the actual procedure. Concat strings is the name of the procedure followed by the proc keyword as we discussed. And then we have input 1 defined as a d word, input 2 defined also as a d word, and output defined as a d word. So input 1 is basically the address of the first input given by the user. Sorry for the periodic disturbances you might hear in the background. That's because people are still firing crackers from the Diwali festival. and that's why you have all this background noise. Anyway, coming back, input 1 is going to be fed in as the first string which the user has supplied, input 2 is the second string, and output, as we have defined earlier, is where the final string is going to be stored. So the first task we do is append string 1 to output, right, which is the final string. Now in order to do this, we use one of MASM32's library calls called SZAppend. What does this actually do? So for that, let's go to the library reference and go to zero terminated string functions, click on SZAppend. Now this is actually going to go ahead and take buffer and append it to the end of string, right? Now exactly where it starts appending is going to be defined by the location parameter. Location is the offset within the string memory location from where buffer is going to be written at the end, right? So in this case, what we do is we are going to call concat strings with the string 1 and string 2 along with that final string, which is where the concatenated string will be. Now if you notice, final string, once it is passed to concat strings, is identified by output. So what is going to happen is that input 1, which is the first string, is going to be written at the beginning of the final string. That is why we give the offset 0. Now the return value of SZAppend, if you notice, is the location of the end of the buffer, which can be used for the next call to SZAppend. So this is basically in many ways the string length of what has been written currently, and this is stored in the EAX register. So the next time we called SZAppend with output, the offset we mentioned within output is EAX, which is the amount of bytes which have already been overwritten by input 1, and at the end input 2 is going to be written. After that we have our usual ret call and then the concat strings NP, which is end of procedure. So basically this is where we invoke concat strings, giving it all the inputs, and then the final thing happens here. So I've gone through the code. I would request you also to write this code yourself before looking at the solution. Let me go ahead and now quickly assemble this code. And then link it. Still use the console subsystem. Then we give the object file which was just created. This creates the exe, and now we can press enter the first string. Let's say hello, enter the second string there, and we have hello there. Now because it is concatenated as is, there is no space between hello and there, which we could allow by actually first putting a space and then there, right? Awesome. Simple program. There are a lot of other very easy ways in which we can concatenate strings. This is the example I could think about in which we could use procedures, right? So if you go to the zero terminated string functions, there are others such as cat, str, etc. to go ahead and concatenate strings, which can also be used. So try it out. The whole idea is to experiment as much as possible so that you learn more and more. And this code is available for download, and which you can do from this current page. So do that. Okay, so now let's get back to the second example, which is write a procedure to get user input and print it back to him. Once again, in this case, we just write a very simple procedure which will take user input and just reflect it back. Now, you may be wondering why I'm taking so simple an example. The whole idea is, in the beginning when you are learning a new language, it is first important to get the constructs of the language correct. And this is where simple examples allow you to go ahead and ensure that you get familiar with the way the whole language is written. After we finish off with all the basics, we will take up some complicated programs, such as writing your own TCP server, listening to a port and things like that. So hold on, don't think this is all there is to the Windows Assembly Language Primer. There is still a lot to come. Okay, this next program is Input Proctalk ASM. Let's open this file up. It's a very simple program, as you can imagine. I have the prototype for the function defined here. So the procedure, I actually call it put text, and this just takes a simple input D word, right? And what this procedure does is it goes ahead and takes the user input which the user has supplied as input and just prints it out to takes a buffer where user input will be stored, and then once it stores it, it prints it back to the user. So let's go through the program. The top part is of course similar to what we've seen in all the programs, so I'll not worry about that. This is the procedure prototype defined here. Let's scroll down. In the data segment, I have a prompt enter text defined, and then a variable input text of size 100 to accept user input. In the main program, we have the actual procedure defined. What this procedure does is first prints enter text, which is this, please enter some text input. I think there's a little typo here. Okay, we are fine. What we do is, to put text, we actually pass the address of enter text, right? And we call it entry text within the procedure. So we go ahead and invoke std out with the address of enter text to print on the screen. Then we invoke std in to take user input, which we will store in the input text variable. Finally, we just go ahead and do an std out for what the user just input, and then we return from the procedure. Very simple example. I think you should be able to do this by yourself. Nevertheless, let me just quickly go ahead and compile it. Okay, here goes, we've assembled it. Now let's link it. Done. Let's run it. Enter some text. Hello, this is a test, and as expected we get an output which is exactly the same. Hello, this is a test. Alright, simple program. Let's go back to our presentation now. So this is how procedures are written, and you can experiment with them. The whole idea, if I were to summarize, is first to declare the prototype, then finally the definition somewhere else in the code, and you can call procedures in a very simple way by using the invoke keyword. Right? Okay folks, that's all for this video. Would really love it if you can leave some comments behind so that I know how you like the videos and what else you require in later videos. Keep watching, have fun. I'm going to be back with the next video very soon.